recognize that music? That's right. It was the trumpet, the king's trumpet. And here's a wonderful story about that music. In a faraway land, there one time lived a shepherd king who owned many flocks and had many shepherds who tended sheep for him. One day, this king wanted to call all of the shepherds together. So he sent a runner for them. When they arrived, the king spoke to them and said, "Pay heed, ye shepherds. Henceforth, when I call ye, I will no longer send a runner. For look, I have fashioned for myself an instrument made from the horn of a ram. With it I can make many tones. So hark, shepherds. If you should hear me playing this, come home at once. This instrument we will call a shofar." Soon, each shepherd made his own shofar, and each made up his own call. They all made a set of calls so they could speak to each other. And while the sheep grazed, one could often hear the call of the shofar echoing from hilltop to hilltop. Later, when the king became mighty, he had an army, and the shofar was used to call men to war. As time went on, men learned to work with metals. Soon, they found that horns could be made of brass and gold and silver. These horns could play many more tones than could the ram horn. So the kings had trumpets made to play their special calls. They also found that if they made a trumpet long, they played low notes like this. And when they made the trumpet short, they played high notes like this. Now, in England, there lived a king named Richard the Lionhearted. And when he made ready to go forth with his army of knights, he would call his band of trumpeters and say, "Ho, master of the trumpet, sound off." And the master of the trumpet would reply, "Aye, my lord. Trumpeters, prepare. Sound the tucket." Then, as the king and his knights marched into the great cathedral for prayer, the trumpets could be heard playing music like this. Early in the 18th century, a wise musician said, "We need many trumpets because each one plays only a few notes." Now, let me see. If I make a trumpet with a piece of metal that moves up and down in a pipe and put a hole in the side of that piece of metal, I can use it to connect the different pipes to my trumpet. When I push it down, air will go through a long pipe and make a low sound. And when I let go, the air will go through a short pipe and make a high sound. Now, he had a trumpet with a valve that played many tones. Later, trumpet makers built a trumpet and put 3 valves in it. Musicians found that they could play all of the notes in the scale. One day, a musician brought his trumpet to the king and said, "Sire, I present to you a new invention, a 3-valve trumpet." The king looked at the instrument curiously and said to the musician, "Play that instrument, musician, and let me hear what it can do." So the musician raised the trumpet to his lips and played a tune like this. The king was very pleased, And the musician was greatly rewarded.